Okay, in this video, I want to show you guys a technique on how to scan over 4,000 symbols and use a strategy to get alerts from those symbols. Now, it's complicated, so bear with me, but this is a question I get a lot, and we're going to go through it right now. The email I got from one of my students was, is there a way to generate some PineScript code to take an indicator or a strategy and search through the entire database on TradingView for that indicator's alerts or signals, whatever it is, and how does this work? So if you've worked with PineScript for a while, you would know that there is a limit to the amount of symbols that you can scan, and that limit is 40 at one time. You can go ahead of that limit sometimes by doing some tricks, but it's generally 40 symbols at one time. So how am I bypassing this? Well, in PineScript 6, there's something called dynamic requests. And in version 6, it's on by default, okay? So what this does is it allows us to use the request security function in a for loop, so we can loop through more than one symbol. But we're still limited to 40 symbols at one time. What I had to do was create an array of all of my symbols and then loop through each one in chunks of 40. And this is what this script does. Now, you can't loop through all 4,000 symbols. You're still looping through 40 at once, and you had to set the alert based on that chunk size. So what I would do is I would go to this indicator that I have. I would open up the settings, and I would start at chunk index 1. And what this is going to do is grab the first 40 symbols that I have stored in my array, and then I'm going to go set alert, add alert to this, whatever. It doesn't really matter the chart that I'm on because it's going to use the request function to look up the symbols. So I could set this literally on any chart, but it will run through that specific time frame. You could modify the request security function to look at a different time frame. For now, we're just going to use the current time frame we're on. We set this open-ended alert for any alert function call and create. So now I have one strategy running across 40 symbols. All right. And if I want to get more symbols, I just move the index by 1, and now it's going to move the entire array of symbols from 0 over to 40, and then I'm going to get 40 through 80. So now I have another 40 symbols set up, and then I can go ahead and set that alert. Now I have alerts for 80 symbols. And then if I want to go and get the next, then I would do it this way, and so forth. This is pretty much the only way you can scan through all of these assets, and it's the quickest way you can do it. Obviously, it would be really nice if we could just scan through all of them and set one alert. But in this case, we'll have to set alerts in chunks of 40. So how did I do this? Well, I'll show you how I made the code and how it works. The first thing I needed to do was get the list of symbols. And what I did was I went to TradingView.com, the screener, and for this example, I just grabbed all of the stocks. And so how I did that is I created a new screener, okay, new screener. And then once I have this screener set up, you just come into the settings for that and you export the screen results. That'll download to your computer. And then I had to write a Python script that will load that CSV file and parse all of those symbols into a bunch of different arrays, okay? Because the data is going to look like this when you get it from TradingView. There's going to be a CSV file with all of the symbols and additional information that come from the screener, right? The price and market cap and all kinds of stuff. So the only thing we want is going to be the symbol. I have this Python script that basically loads the file, reads the file, breaks it up to only collect the symbols into a list, and then it separates each array into chunks of 999. Because in PineScript, you can't have more than 999 strings in this specific function, array from. And this is just going to create an array from all of these strings. All right, so these are all the symbols. So I basically had it break up the entire list of symbols into different array variables up to the max amount of symbols automatically. So it'll go through and it'll count all of them. And in this case, there was 14 different arrays filled with at least 999 symbols, okay? And then it writes that to a file called symbols.pine. And I had to load that. I had to make sure that the CSV file matched this title right here. So just go ahead and grab your CSV file that you downloaded and copy that name. Make sure that it matches the name in here. It's going to load it up. It's going to spit all of that out into a symbols.pine file that will look like this. And it's basically all of the variables that you'll use in the script. So this is all the stock data from the screener, and it's 14 different arrays filled with at least 999 symbols. So I did that because doing that by hand would take me forever. That's why I wrote the Python script. And now I have all of these symbol arrays. Then I grabbed those and I copied them and I put them in here. Okay, so the only reason I don't have all of these working right now, some of them are commented out, as you can see. The script would work with all of them, but when PineScript tries to compile this with more than 4 arrays, with more than basically 4,000 symbols, it throws an error saying that my script is too long. And I'll show you that right now. So I saved that, and then I was saying the body of the galaxy function is too long, and it basically means that I need to reduce the size of my script. So really, you only can have 4,000 different symbols in one script, okay? I don't think ideally we'd want to go and loop through all of the symbols, but we can't do that in PineScript. I'm gonna choose the first 4, and then it goes through, and we set it. This is the input for our chunk size, the I chunk index. And what this is going to do is we have this function called getGalaxy, and we're passing that chunk index. All right, and all the arrays get initialized right in the beginning only once using the var keyword. We set some variables for the loop here. On the first iteration over here, we create a all symbols array. We set it to 0. It's empty, and when it's empty on the first iteration, we're going to concatenate all of these arrays into one single array. Because an array in PineScript can hold up to 100,000 values, all right? But the array from can only hold 999. It'd be nice if we could post in 100,000 values and not have to worry about this, but there's certain ways we have to do things, and this is how we're doing it right here. So we're gonna make one huge array filled with 4,000 values. We're just gonna concatenate all of the arrays, array 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, all into this one single array. And then down here, we're basically just looping through based on the chunk height. And if we're starting at 0, the start index is 0, and the end index is computed right here. We're taking the minimum size so we don't run into any errors, okay? And this is gonna be 0 plus the request max length. So we only can request up to 40 symbols at one time. It'll start at 0 on the first iteration if we're at index 0, and then it'll do 0 plus 40 for the end index. But it's also going to look to see that we're not going over the array size. That way we don't run into an overflow error trying to grab a size that's not in the index. All right, and then finally down here, we make sure that the start index is less than the size of the all symbols array. And if it is, then we slice that array from our start index to our end index. Finally, we just built a strategy. So I have a very simple strategy here. It's just an RSI. If the RSI is crossing over the 70 value over bot, then we send a -1 for a sell. If the RSI is crossing under the oversold level, which is generally 30, we send a buy. And if it's doing neither of those things, we send NA. And on the last bar, this is where we do all the magic, okay? So we only care about the last bar since this is going to be a alert script. And we're going to be running this function on the last bar index so it doesn't run on all the historical stuff, because we only care about the real-time alerts for our specific strategy. So what's happening here is it's going to run the getGalaxy function based on our chunk index. So imagine this was 0. It's going to return us the first 40 symbols in this entire galaxy, and then it's going to loop through that. So for symbol in the galaxy, it's going to grab the first symbol on the first iteration of this loop. It's going to call the request security on our current time frame, and it's going to pass this strategy that we've made, and it's going to run that strategy on that symbol. It's going to return the signal, and if the signal is not NA, then it's going to run this alert. Okay, so we check if the signal is 1, then we pass buy signal on the symbol that we're on, and it's going to run through this 40 times, and it's going to send us alerts based on this strategy. Okay, so that's that, and I hope that helps you guys scan more signals based on your indicator, based on your strategy, and become better traders. All right, I'll see you in the next video.